Hello, and welcome to the Authentically Elisa podcast, Unmasking Your True Self. I'm Elisa Bogarts, your guide on this journey to discovering the most genuine version of yourself. Each episode is a step towards unveiling the incredible power that lies within you as we strip away all the shoulds and shine a light on the coulds. Together, we'll explore the path of self-empowerment, self-confidence, and the courage to be unapologetically you. Thank you for being here. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we're going to talk about going from burnout to balance. It's really all about trading stress and overwhelm to live life on your own terms, and of course, to do it authentically. Today, I have an amazing guest with me, Dr. Jill Rosenthal. Jill is an award-winning Harvard and Stanford educated physician who retired after a 35-plus year career and became certified in wellness and a mindset coach. Her extensive experience and training, coupled with her own transformation from a stressed, overworked, unhealthy physician, wife, and mother into a happy, healthy, thriving coach, make her uniquely equipped to help others release unconscious thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that hold them back so they can create their dream life. Welcome, Jill.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so glad that you're here. So tell me about kind of how you got into this field of work and why you're so passionate about it. I know we just touched on it now, but tell us more.
So I got into it the hard way. I was practicing as a physician. I was chugging along in my life, doing all the things I loved, too many of the things I didn't love, you know, typical female physician pathway, taking care of everybody else at work and at home and doing everything and nothing left for myself. And this is true not only for physicians, obviously, but for many women professionals and entrepreneurs, and for a lot of men as well.
Yeah.
And stuff started to pile up. I was trying to take care of my aging parents from 3,000 miles away, commuting between coasts, take
Wow.
care of my older husband who had Alzheimer's disease, raise our young daughter, handle the household stuff, manage a really busy medical practice. I was working about 50 hours a week, at work plus the home stuff, getting
Wow.
paid for 32 of them. I had chronic foot and ankle problem. I I had no time to take care of myself, and I was juggling so many plates in the air, and I had little or no support.
Wow.
And eventually something had to give. I was really stressed and burnt out, and I was juggling the plates until I wasn't. And then in a 2.5 year period, I lost both parents. My husband had to go to assisted living soon after I'd had foot reconstruction. I was still on leave from the foot reconstruction when I was diagnosed with breast cancer and had surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, all of this 2.5 years.
Wow.
And
Oh,
so it was a story that I was hesitant to tell people about because it would make them run screaming from the room, right? And yet now I am thriving. And
amazing.
and that's my message for people. No matter what happens, you can bounce back from it. So what happened was my breast cancer treatment eventually led to my having to take a disability retirement. So I lost the last 10 years of my medical career, and of course, the income from that.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and um, and I, just as I was hitting a time when I had to pay for, expensive college, memory care, etc. So something had to change, and it was me. So I ended up getting involved with coaching. I got a bunch of coaching certifications initially to help myself. And then
Mm.
because I had to log a lot of coaching hours to get certified, I discovered I was made for this. And so my new mission became helping other professionals and entrepreneurs avoid the problems caused by chronic stress, overwhelm, and burnout, and lack of self-care. And so people come to me wanting help to balance all of those parts of their lives. And that's what I help them do.
That's so awesome. It's such important work. And you clearly had such a journey that you learned it yourself. And I love also that you said that when you were doing the coaching, that you yourself had even more transformation. Like I know I found that as well. I was like, this is amazing. Like I need to bring this out into the world because like I'm getting so much from it.
I
And I
learn
also
something new
find,
in each coaching conversation.
yes, yes, unpacking so many things, all the layers. And it's just so interesting that, yeah, like they say that you can only kind of take your clients as far as you can go yourself. And so it's really important for you to take yourself on that same sort of transformational journey so that you can, kind of be that advocate for the thriving, right? Be like, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I am here. Like, come join me.
People, especially these days, there's so much stress in the world, and they're working their butts off. They're coming home, they're collapsing on the couch, they're often taking work home with them in the evening. Some of them tell me they're falling asleep over the computer at night,
Wow.
waking up and going to bed. And they they just become disengaged, and they feel like they're going through the motions at work, or even worse, at home. And relationships are starting to suffer. They're feeling disempowered. And, eventually they're thinking, I might need to leave my job, or quit my
Mm.
business, or cut down, perhaps with a cut in salary. And sometimes they're thinking about leaving relationships. And they often, like they know there's got to be something more, but they just don't see a way out. Like they don't see a way out. They don't even know if there is a way out. And they typically, they've spent their life following the rules,
Hmm.
doing the things they've been told to do ever since they were a little girl, and they can't imagine doing anything else, especially if they are trained, they've gone to graduate school and they've trained for some kind of career. It's like they can't even imagine doing something else. And the thing is, when you're little, having those rules, those guardrails, those walls makes you feel safe, right? Because little kids need some boundaries,
Mm.
right? But when you're a grown up, then it feels like the walls are closing in. And the next thing you know, you're in prison. And what most people don't realize is they're the one holding the key.
Right.
And
Yeah. I love to think of like with those rules we were talking about. It reminds me of of rules. I can't remember the man who created that slogan, but it stands for bullshit rules, which is like kind of like all these societal things and all those rules and everything that we like, grow up with and feel like we have to abide to, especially as adults. And when we talk about authenticity, it's like, how can you figure
right,
out even like what your own sort of rules are or how you want to live your life or which ones you think actually truly are bullshit that you want to get rid of
right,
so that you can live more authentically and be yourself.
right. And so what happens is, as young children, our brains get programmed by
Yeah.
our experiences, the people around us, what they say, our personalities. And so we develop these thought, emotional, and behavioral patterns that are like, they're coping mechanisms that, they're necessary for survival when you're a little kid. But then when you're a grown up, it turns out it might not be serving you so well. And so it turns out that letting those things go is what allows you to step into who you really are, your true
Yeah.
authentic self, as opposed to, like, what you were told to do when you were 3 years old.
Right.
And
Or who you're supposed to be, quote
who
unquote.
you're supposed to be. And we
Mm.
have all of these concepts about who we're supposed to be. And the people around us have ideas of who they think we're supposed to be. And then we have thoughts about what we imagine they think, right? Which isn't even necessarily what they think. And we tie ourselves up in knots with that. But the fact is that you have to live your own life.
Yeah.
Everybody else's life is taken, right? You have to be yourself. And allowing yourself to do that, taking a deep breath and jumping and allowing yourself to figure out what you really want and who you really are, who you want to be, is the thing that allows you to make changes as needed. And,
Mhm.
it's funny though, because people are really like, talk about internal consistency. Like at some point, I pulled out my old high school yearbook. Okay, I graduated from high school in 1976. All right. And I opened it up and it like it has your picture, it has blah blah blah, and it had everybody had to have a quote. And my quote was from Shakespeare, and it was, "To thine own self be true."
Oh,
And
nice.
I thought, like that's essentially like that's like the crux of my whole,
Yeah, isn't that amazing how so many years
right?
later, here it is actually like
And
being true for you.
it's just kind of funny. And so, when I work with people, like I have one client who she was a physician and she was in academic medicine, and she came to me and she's like, I need work-life balance. She didn't even know what she wanted. She was so frazzled. But we eventually, we went through everything she was doing, and she realized that she hated, despised the part of her job that was 40% of her time, and her FTE, like her income, was based on this part of her job that she hated. So we decided
That's a lot of time.
that that needs to go, right?
Mhm.
So she said, well, it's going to take a year. We got to do a search. We got to find somebody else. We got to, announce. We got to like all of these things. And I said, no, no, we can do this in 3 months. She's like, I'm like, no, we can do this in 3 months. And sure enough, June 30th, she was out of that part of her job.
Oh,
Somebody else was
amazing.
doing it. And, so magic can happen. And what happens is we have to learn to get out of our own way.
Yes.
We have to let go of the internal, those those old programs that are holding us back. And once you do that, like there are no bounds on what you can do.
No, exactly. And I love that you're like, because sometimes people can get into that too. It's like, oh, well, I can't because of this, or I can't because of that, or it's going to take a year, or like, oh, it's so difficult, or, and yes, there is all these things that you need to do, but it's totally doable. It's totally figure out. And even, you know what? That's amazing that you got it done in like 3 months, but even if it did take a year, it's like, well, if this is your career and you still have like another 10 years to work, like, fine, put the year in just so that you don't spend, you only have 9 years not doing that and not never doing anything about it.
I remember reading somewhere, and this was decades ago, but the example was given like somebody who like they were 50 and they were thinking they wanted to go to law school. And they said, but I'll be 53 by the time I finish. Well, of course, in 3 years, they're going to be 53 anyway,
Yeah.
right? So they can
Time's
either have
passing.
what they want or not. But you know the time is going to pass, and so you get to make it what you want. And that letting go of the should, I should do
Mhm.
this, I should do that, we got to stop shoulding on ourselves.
Yes.
And we live in way too much of that, and we need to have more, what if. And the fact is that like the people around us, like somebody who cares about you wants the best for you, even
Yeah.
if they're scared. Like, and if you go in their higher self, they want the best for you. And so if you think that your kids or your parents or somebody, expects you to stay on your path, like, I mean, yeah, they're used to it because that's how you've always done it, but like they really want what's best for you. And so allowing yourself to go there and figure out what you really want is something that very few people do, because it is effing scary. And
Yeah,
so
and also I think sometimes even if people want the best for you, they're coming it from their perspective and from their experience. And so what they think is best for them and for everyone, they might put that on you, but that's what they think is best. So it's like, yeah, so you want the best for me, but actually the best for me is this. So I love how you talked about that, like having that kind of separation and be like, especially when you think about different generations, right? I think of my mom who's now like 80, right? And so what was best for her and what she thinks is the best isn't the
right.
same for somebody who's, 38 years younger than her and in a different generation, in a different world now even, right? And so, well, what's best for me? And so, yeah, doing that, having that separation and really just actually like letting go of all of that and just being like, well, what do I want? What
Yeah.
is, yeah, true for me?
And there's more to it, even because what, we got to learn. We have, when you go on the airplane and they're like, put your own oxygen mask on first, it's really true. If you are depleted and run into the ground because you are so stressed, you are no good to anybody.
Oh,
When my stress ended up, I ended up with cancer, and I was still like just coming off of non-ambulatory status from foot surgery, right? Like, it was hard for me to take care of people. I had to let other people step in and take care of me, which, by the way, for a lot of women, and especially women doctors, like, it's really hard to accept help and it's really hard to ask for help. But I talked to somebody this week who, she was worried about if she took time for herself, if she invested time, money, energy on herself, that it would be taking away from her family and taking away from her children.
this is
The fact
common.
is,
Yeah.
right, super common.
Yeah.
But the fact is, if she doesn't, then she's actually hurting them. And by demonstrating what it's like, for like, she's a model of what a parent is, right? And her kids learn moms take care of themselves as well as taking care of us, right? That's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Want your kid, you don't want to teach your kid that mom's job is to suffer,
Mm.
because guess what they're going to do when they grow up, right?
Sever,
And
yeah.
so, like, this generational thing, and so, like, modeling, and the fact is, if you're miserable with what you're doing and you fix that, you're going to have more time, more energy, more money, even, to spend
Yeah.
with the family and your kids. And so
So do you have
it,
like like a tip or something to kind of help our listeners kind of do that? Like what's like a sort of like a how or something?
so I think, with regard to your audience, who where you're really talking about authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
is is to understand that if you can't if you can't allow yourself to be who you really are, like, that's your, like, what's your purpose, right? You're not going to, whatever your purpose is in the universe, unless you allow yourself to fully accept that and fully accept who you really are, then you're not going to do that. Um and the other thing would be that, most of us, like, we know what we want to do, right? We know what we should do.
Mm-hmm.
um but most of us aren't doing it, right? We're stuck.
A good point.
If you've
Yeah.
been working on something for 3 months, 6 months, a year, and it still hasn't happened, then something's in your way. And you're, it's like having one foot on the gas and one on the brake, right? And um, if you got one foot on the brake, you're not going anywhere. And it's really not that good for the brakes or the engine either. And so it's really, um, it's really important to let that go. So, what I would say is, if you're feeling stuck in any way in your life, work, home, relationships, exercise, diet, I don't care what it is, but if you are wanting to do something and you haven't made it happen, you're stuck. And so what you want to do is ask yourself, why am I stuck? And, if everything on your list is things that you think you need to do or things you need to stop doing, you're probably missing the most important thing that's getting in your way, because you already know what the things are that you should be doing and you're not doing them, or you're not stopping doing them. So it's got to be more than that. And so the biggest thing that gets in our way is us.
Yeah.
Right? Our thoughts, our emotions, our fears, our past discouragement. But understanding the thoughts rationally isn't always, sometimes that's enough. But what really is the problem is we have these unconscious thoughts and emotions and fears that are the problem, and we don't even see them. We don't know what they are. They're like blind spots. And so that's the time to get help from somebody else who can help you find your blind spots and can help you, hold your hand and take you through it. And that's what my clients tell me. Rationally understanding a problem is not enough. They have to emotionally clear it too. They have to go back and fix the thing that's making them feel stuck.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for that. Yes, for sure. There are so many. Yeah. So it's good to become aware of it, that you are sort of stuck, and maybe try and cognitively figure it out. But then, yes, get some help to kind of go into more of like the subconscious and actually, yeah, become more aware of the things that you're saying to yourself and the things that you're stuck for and all of that. Well, thank you so much. Where can our listeners find you?
You can find me at my website, designerlifedoctor.com, or you can get to the same place with drjillrosenthal.com, all one word.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, those will all be in the show notes for everyone. And do you have any final words of wisdom as we close out today?
I think just go out there and be yourself.
As hard as it may be, go out there and be yourself.
Yeah, go out there, just go out there and do it. And I guess the final thing would be, people say feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's sometimes what you need to do. But if you take away the fear, then it's magic. Then it's easy, right?
Yes, let's live in that like magical zone more and more and more in our lives. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here. What a profound talk. I really appreciate everything that you said and everything that you shared.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it inspired you to live a more authentic life. I'd love your help in inspiring more people to live authentically. So please follow, rate, and leave a review so we can create a ripple effect of authenticity. Until next time, stay true to you, be bold, and thrive on your own terms. This is Elisa, signing off authentically.